Hello. Good morning. It is early where I am. Just finished dropping my husband off at work, and I'm now heading home to feed kids breakfast and then take my oldest to VBS and go do summer activities with my boys. Anyway, so as I've been driving, I've been thinking about how the enemy likes to get in and warp our identity. Because anything in life that we are struggling with, where we're feeling stuck, especially as Christians, especially as Christ followers, it comes back to our identity. Because when we have our identity solidly rooted in the fact that we are chosen, beloved, holy children of God, and that the victory is ours, that as Christ is in heaven now, as Christ is, so are we. Like, we have all the same power and authority. We are co-heirs. Like, when we really know that, so many of the things that we get stuck by are like they stop being an issue because it's an identity. And so basically the enemy keeps us stuck, keeps us overwhelmed, keeps us in sin, keeps us in bondage, keeps us from fulfilling and stepping into the fullness of who God created us to be and the fullness of our purpose and destiny. The enemy does this by attacking our identity and chipping away at our identity. And he does this starting at a very young age. Some people are under greater attack than others, and that often has to do with calling. It can get really, really complicated, and I'm not getting into that today, the complicated stuff. But what I was thinking about today is one of the things that I have seen in my life and in others' lives is that one of the sneakiest attacks of the enemy, or tactics that the enemy will use to undermine our identity and to get us in a place of like helplessness or overwhelm is to put us tempt us into not keeping our word. It is a way to sneakily undermine our integrity with ourselves. So if you're someone who, like, if you give your word to somebody else and you follow through on it, that's fantastic. That means that you're a person of integrity in your relationships. But if you struggle to keep your word to other people, but you also struggle to keep your word with yourself, it is calling a spade, okay? With no condemnation, but awareness that is an integrity issue. And what happens is, oftentimes we'll be really, really good at keeping our words to other people because there's accountability. But we're less good about keeping our words to ourselves. So like if we commit to ourselves, okay, I'm going to start waking up at X time, or I'm going to start exercising, or I'm going to change my how I'm eating, or I'm going to give up this habit, or I'm going to go do this thing, or whatever, right? Like we might make a commitment to ourselves or a promise to ourselves, but do we fulfill it? A lot of times, and this is where the enemy can come in with his sneak attacks, is by getting us to not keep our words to ourselves and then also to other people. Because what that does is, like I said, it undermines our integrity with others and with ourselves. If we're in a place where we like keep our word to others but don't keep our word to ourselves, that will show that basically what it means, and it kind of is showing, is that we don't value ourselves enough. Like if we don't value ourselves enough to honor our words to ourselves. But really, I want to kind of keep this short and sweet, especially because I've got kids in the back who are ready to get home and have breakfast. But basically, I was just thinking about this today as I was driving, that one of the ways that the enemy really likes to get in and undermine our destiny is by getting us to be inconsistent with our word, with our commitments. See, because what happens is if we make a commitment and then we don't follow through on it, whether it's with somebody else or ourselves, it opens the door to chaos, it opens the door to confusion, and it opens the door to double-mindedness. And especially when we're looking at keeping our word to ourselves. And this is very much from experience, having walked this, especially in a couple of very specific areas, that when we don't keep our word to ourselves, it undermines our confidence in our capability of doing anything. And it makes us feel like we're hypocrites. And it can put us into a spiral. And that's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants us weak and stuck. And so the sneak attack is, a lot of times it's the enemy. So I'm going to give you an example to illustrate what I'm saying here, because I feel like that'll help. So the Lord has been asking me over the last couple weeks to start shifting my schedule and getting up really early, like at 4 a.m. And the Lord's inviting me to step into a season of more discipline in my time management. And so over the last couple weeks, I've been kind of like struggling. I've been working on it, but like I'd say probably like 2 to 3 days out of 7, 2 to 3 days out of 5, were how often I was like hitting it and getting up when I was wanting to. And part of it was, this was happened as soon as I made that commitment and said, yes, Lord, I'm going to do it. And I'm committing to myself. I'm going to start getting up at 4 a.m. All of a sudden at night, all hell breaks loose. Sometimes quite literally. Like all of a sudden, whereas before, like our evenings were kind of chill and, you know, we had a rhythm and we'd usually be in bed between like 9 and 10 and whatever. All of a sudden, as soon as I decide I'm going to start waking up at 4, all of a sudden it's chaos starts coming out. Somebody calls me and it ends up going super late. My husband and I end up getting into some sort of a conversation and it goes ridiculously late. Like seriously, Saturday night we were up till 2 a.m. talking. But it was an urgent thing that couldn't just get put off. Or kids wake up. That was the one that happened. Oh my goodness. It was like, we have 3 kids and, there was one night where like every couple hours, one of them was waking up. And even again last night, we didn't get to bed. My husband and I didn't get to bed till midnight because he had a call that ran late. And then I had some stuff we had to talk about and figure out to be on the same page for the upcoming week. And it just was like insanity. And so we didn't get to bed till midnight and getting up and still like needing to get up at 4. And so here's the thing, what happens sometimes, and it's hard, you got to be careful to make sure that you're doing what the Lord's asking you to do. Like with this, the Lord told me to do this. Okay. And so it was not only a commitment to myself, but it was a commitment to the Lord. But there's not really other accountability. Like if I don't do it, like, oh well, in terms of like nobody else really knows or has like that commitment needed. But what happens is sometimes we'll get dissuaded. I used to fall into this trap of thinking that if, for example, that like, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time waking, I wanted to get up early, but then I only got 4 hours of sleep and I'm exhausted. It must mean I'm not supposed to. See, opposition actually often means we're going in the right direction. And so this is the sneaky way the enemy will get us to not keep our word to ourselves, that we should do, that we are supposed to do, is he will throw opposition at us in such a way that it would make sense for it to be, it could easily be like, oh, well, maybe the Lord doesn't want me getting up this early, that, if I have kids waking up and I'm only going to get 4 hours of sleep, like maybe it's the Lord. But oftentimes, see, that's how the enemy, he does it in such a way that you can rationalize it, and rationalize not keeping your word to yourself, and then you start getting into the habit of that, and then you don't have trust with yourself, and because you don't have trust with yourself, it just completely shatters your ability to show up as God has called you to show up, and it becomes a core, like, identity struggle. And so anyway, I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry. I'll take you inside and get you some ice, okay? Give me 1 second. Let me wrap this up.
I didn't bump it.
Sorry.
I didn't bump it.
Okay. Can I have like 1 minute? I'm wrapping this up right now.
Okay.
Thank you. So, all that to say, sum up. Sorry, this is a little rambly, but that's what we get in the morning as I'm driving. So sum up, the enemy likes to come in with opposition that doesn't always feel like enemy opposition. It can feel like a redirection. And he'll sneak in there with that and get us to break our word to ourselves, undermine our trust with ourselves, which then erodes our trust in it erodes our trust with ourselves, but then it also erodes our trust in ourselves to be able to help others. And it just totally messes with our identity. And so my invitation for you is to take a look at, where have you broken your word to yourself? Where have you made commitments to yourself and not followed through? And take those to the Lord and ask him, how many of those were from him, were aligned with his call, and his desire for you. And ask him to help give you discernment between opposition from the enemy and redirection from him. Because the enemy's been at this a real long time. He knows how to make it look like the Lord. And so we need discernment, we need wisdom, and a lot of times we need that we need to develop discipline. And so that's just what's on my mind this morning. If it blessed you, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you for hanging in with me here through this kind of meandering path, a stream of consciousness thoughts here. I'm going to go feed children and get moving on the rest of our day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.